Welcome to Stampscaping 101. I really liked my last scene using the aspen trees. I've never used them in this kind of ground up point of view before, but I thought they really worked really well. So I thought we would try something in that same spirit, but using the super dynamic rainbow holographic foil type of surface here. This type of surface inherently has all of these different colors, so it makes the color kind of process of working with it pretty easy because, we don't have to employ colors into it. Now, I will on this one, but I don't know. I'm going to see if this even works. This holographic foil, I don't really see impressions working on it really well in, light colors. I typically work on it in black. But we're going to test and see what we can do here. Okay, so we're just going to take some Brilliance white ink. It's going to dry on the foil. Okay, just regular pigment inks, oil-based pigment inks is what they usually are. Probably won't work on this, okay? In terms of drying. Now, I don't know, I never say never because there's a lot of different types of media and brands that I haven't tried, but Brilliance is just so specific in terms of kind of its reason for being, its mission is to be able to dry on, less than porous papers. I don't know if it dries on anything completely non-porous, but I think it would, especially if you heat set it, so I don't know. You can try out some things. Do versions of this if you like the look, and you don't have some Brilliant things, or just get a pad when you have a chance. I'd highly recommend it. It's just having the type of ink that can open up a lot of opportunities for you, just in terms of surface media compatibility is huge. Okay. Especially, we have a lot of things that we can use in the stamping world. There's a lot of different mediums, and accessories these days, but still, there's a lot of things that just don't work. And this kind of takes all of the, well, not all of it, but a lot of the kind of the mystery out of possibilities out of the mix, and you can use it on whatever, practically. Okay, so I'm adding some clouds, because I think I just need to provide, kind of a base foundation for which to make our impressions on using those aspen trees. Now, ideally, I would have some other Brilliance colors, and I need to buy some more. This is like one of those first times when I'm thinking, okay, I really do need some colors rather than just black and white and some metallics that I have. But that being said, I don't have them right now, so I thought I would just, I don't know, make do, which is kind of the spirit by which I think we should all have in stamping. It's part of the creative kind of process is, kind of making do and, trying to maximize our media, okay? Maybe you don't have white Brilliance. Maybe you have some other type of white pigment ink. Maybe I don't know, maybe you clear emboss it on here or something of that sort, and then you use, I don't know, maybe some stays-on inks over the top of it. I'm not really quite sure. Because I haven't done those things, but just kind of thinking about it. But you might come up with some really good combinations. Maybe doing something like this. I don't know if you can do something like kind of a raised embossing type of thing. That'd be kind of interesting to do some raised clouds, kind of embossing from the backside of the paper. Where you actually raise the paper. I don't know. Seems like there's, I don't know, just some different things that could potentially be kind of interesting, especially with this type of paper surface. Alright, so adding this in. I'm just keeping it pretty loose, but there's like a pattern of clouds around it like so. Now, maybe I can, you know, add some depth by using some black in there too. I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking maybe I should use some black in here as well. You know, in the shadow areas, perhaps. All right. So that's my block out right here. Okay. You can see where I've applied a lot of that white pigment ink, blocking out the background. This paper is so dynamic. I do feel that blocking out certain areas kind of makes the areas that we can see still with that holographic finish to it. I find that it makes it more effective. It kind of focuses that you know, that super dynamic surface ability into maybe smaller areas, okay, so that it's just not kind of totally you know, washing everything out, overpowering it. In other words, you know, and this paper would be, it could easily overpower, in this case, you know, a scene, you know, as far as any type of imagery that we would use in there. Okay. Now there's not a lot of dynamics in here in terms of shadow areas, okay? But we're just going to leave it at that. And I really do need some other pigmentings, Brilliance pigmentings that'll dry on here, you know, for my trees. Okay, gosh. I was going to place an order with Imagine Crafts. I have no affiliation with Tsukaneko or Imagine Crafts or anything like that. I'm just, if there's a product that I really believe in, and, you know, I use it and talk about it, you know, because I want people to get the right stuff, you know, for, you know, so they don't struggle with, you know, kind of, I don't know, media or technique issues. Okay, now, I'm going to be using a lot of paint pens on my surface here after I stamp my impressions. I'm not expecting my impressions to dry, or to even imprint very well on here at least, okay? But I'm hoping to be able to see them enough to where I can use I can use it as a guide for my paint pen work, okay? All right, I'm just kind of counter-bending this, kind of hopefully back into place here a little bit. Okay, so, well, let's see. Let's give it a whirl, as they say. I haven't tried dye-based inks on this foil at all, you know, because I just wouldn't be doing that because I just know, you know, it's not meant for that, okay? It's not meant for that type of surface. Dye-based inks work by staining, okay? So if you have a non-porous surface like this, okay, there's just nothing to stain. It's not penetrating, okay? And you're saying, well, why are you using it again? Okay, so I'm hoping that I get enough of a print that that I can see to build upon, you know, with media that will work on there, okay? Now again, if this was a Brilliance green or something like that sort, maybe like a light green, that would be my choice right here to use on here, but not having that, I'm just going with a medium that's, you know, completely different from it, so we'll see. Some of this is, you know, not stamping on the Brilliance White either. Hopefully, what I'm hoping for, okay, is that the Brilliance White provided enough of an absorbent foundation for the dye-based inks to penetrate. We'll see. Or I'm not stamping over the white. I just don't think anything will show up, but let's see, you know. Sometimes you're going to try some things that, you know, you don't expect to work, but in theory you think it'd be pretty cool, all right? And that will rule some things out, right? Okay. Now that, you know what, I do have some, you know, like I said, metallic brilliance. I don't, you know, I have like gold and silver. Maybe I should do those. Oh my God. That did stamp out pretty well. I don't know if it'll dry. It all heats at it though. All right. That's my shock of the maybe quarter. You know, the vellum was another kind of thing. I was surprised at how much you can see through vellum at times. Working on that. I don't know, what were some other surprises? Oh, working on foil in certain lights, you know, if you stamp something white, it just, you know, completely disappears at certain angles. That was kind of a pleasant surprise. I thought that was really cool. It was like, I think I called it disappearing ink. It doesn't disappear, it just, you know, it's obscured in the light, but you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Just bring up, I don't know what I called it. I don't think I might have called it disappearing ink. Okay, so this is like looking up in the sky type of thing. I'll just put my vanishing point right there. So anywhere where I stamp these trees, you know, this line right here in between. I was going with this one before, kind of aiming general, but I think the line should be in between these trees going right here. So the vanishing point will be right here. So anytime I stamp this line will be pointed right at those trees. If you haven't watched any of these kind of, you know, ground up visual types of whatever scenarios with trees and sky. Pretty interesting. Foil's just a really dynamic surface to work with, so. Fun factor, highly recommended. Just, you know, that, like I said, that's not going, you know, I'm going to run my finger through it and it would, you know, completely smear. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. But let's see. This one was a little bit light right here. Okay, now that one I can tell right where I stamped it into that open area with no pigment ink. Dried pigment ink, it didn't really leave too much of an impression at all. Oh, okay, so that being said, I need to be careful around in these areas, you know, because, you know, we just won't be able to see anything. But these areas right here I'll build out with the paint pens, okay. I think it should be fun. I don't know. It's looking kind of cool right now. I think it looks a little bit better with the a little bit more green like that, huh? Okay. Yeah. It's like pre-fall or something with the aspens, you know, not quite, you know, all yellow. Or, you know, it's just starting to turn yellow, maybe. These are Marvy 1500 series brush markers, dye-based markers, okay? I didn't say that. But they're really fantastic for coloring kind of large areas for this type of, you know, blended look with your impressions. Okay, let me see here. Vanishing points here, so I need to go like this. I'm kind of want to go like that, but it's more like this, okay? I'm really shocked at this because like I said, I'm usually going like black ink against this holographic foil. So I never black pigment ink, fast drying pigment ink, instead of transparent, slower drying dye-based inks, in light colors to boot. I don't know. I'm so shocked at that. Now, if that will never dry, then this is a pointless, not pointless experiment, but it's just going to be a moot, process right here. Okay. I mean, we'll know more about it, than we did previously if it doesn't even if it doesn't work. But I don't know. So far, so good here. Okay. Okay. Let's heat set this. I was wondering if I should stamp my other imagery in there right now, or just let's go ahead. Alright, now that ink looks quite a bit different. It's not completely dry yet, but quite a bit dry. Okay, it looks a lot different than when it was, what it was looking like when it was like sopping wet and a puddle on top of here. Okay, the colors dulled out, and they also kind of blended, but they're a lot flatter looking. Okay, but I'm fine with that as long as they're set, because most of the kind of dynamics of the trees are going to be done with the acrylic paint pens. Okay, so this is just kind of providing a foundation for it. Okay, now I'm bending this around because I'm trying to bend it back into place. Otherwise, it's really curled right now. So you just kind of get it roughly back into place. Okay, just so that when you stamp your other imagery onto it, it'll you're not stamping over a big wave. Okay, so okay, now when I stamped these ones yesterday, I had to work around them with the paint pens. Let's hold this till the end, and I can just stamp it right over the top of the paint pens. Now, I don't think it'll be any problem as far as standing out on this. Okay, so these are the 3 inks that we'll use on here. I just used them yesterday, but you really have to shake them up every time. Okay, I apologize for not doing that ahead of time. Alright, so, alright, let's see, let's build out some of these trees, parts that didn't stamp out, okay. Come back into here like so. Now, I'm going to try to do it where I don't overwork, the paint pens. The whole idea of these techniques here is not so, if someone's following it, they don't have to use, a gazillion dots, okay? That's pretty fun. But, I don't know, we don't want it to be a super long, kind of laborious process, Not that any of it is laborious. Like I said, it's kind of fun doing it, but there is something to be said for being a little bit more Spartan in our need for applications, at least. You can always add more, but I just don't want you to have to, you know, in order for something to look a certain way. Okay, so kind of just building, you know, these designs here are built by kind of, you know, clusters, leaves in, clusters. So you're just kind of following suit, doing the same thing, you know, with your paint pens. Okay, all right, now here's what I noticed here. Here's what's different here. That dye-based ink is kind of going onto my tip here. I was wondering if it was feeding. It wasn't, so I just did a little scribble to get that dye-based ink off my tip there. Now it's flowing again, okay? So you can see, the dye-based ink is really just sitting on the surface, as well as the pigment ink, okay? The white pigment ink. So that being said, you know, it'll be a good idea to spray seal this. In fact, if I spray sealed this with a workable fixative, it wouldn't be bad right now, you know, because it wouldn't be picking up. See, these pens never do this, but it's picking up media onto the tip here, and it's just kind of drying it out. You just, you know, it's no big deal. You just scribble it off like this and get it feeding again, okay? But let's see if we can get it. I'll do a trigger on here just to get it flowing a little bit faster. The juicier this type of thing is, the more output you have, the less kind of clogging, you know, can potentially happen, you know, because the flow is so strong going out. It's just not having a chance to really build up and dry on the tip here. Yeah, okay, that worked. So I just triggered this a couple times. And you might need to do that a few times, I don't know. Okay, that is the light green. Right there. It's looking a lot more abstract now. Okay, the trees are like, I don't know, not abstract. It's kind of impressionistic. But hopefully the strong kind of solids of the leafless pines will, you know, provide the kind of structural image stability within this piece. Okay, so this is the yellow. Yellow is a lighter tone, so over the top of the darker impressions, hopefully it'll show up nicely. It is picking up some of that green now, because the green is both wet and it's kind of floating on top of this, you know, not so porous surface, so could be good, could be bad. Sometimes it's hard to apply more ink, but on the other hand, it will blend in with your other colors. You know, kind of nice harmonious blend. Sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes I want more separation, in which case you can use a spray fixative over the top of this, you know, so that when you lay down another layer, it's not mixing with the layers underneath, so. Cluster, you know, some of your lighter colors over the darker sometime. Don't just go dot, dot, dot and have everything kind of uniform. It's a little bit more kind of natural looking, and it has visual variety to have, you know, kind of a, I wouldn't say an irregular application of this type of media, but, you know, varied a little bit more. And it doesn't, you know, have to be the same from tree to tree either. Okay. This, these impressions down here of the aspen trees are pretty, oops, I have some ink on my finger. They're pretty, kind of obscure. It's kind of almost, yeah, it's real impressionistic down here. I don't know. I mean, some of it probably didn't stamp out or something like that. Or less of it did. Okay. All right, let's go with some white. Maybe I'll spray seal this actually before I go with the white. The white really blends in if I don't spray seal with a spray fixative. So let's hit this. Let's go ahead and hit with use the black Brilliance. Okay, so my vanishing point is going to be. I'll put it right here. Okay, and I think I can remember that. All right, and we're going to do this in black Brilliance, and hopefully. The acrylic paint pen applications aren't going to be so raised that it makes my, my impressions with my black over the top of them kind of irregular. I want to have nice and flat applications of this if I can. Or, I don't know, solid impressions of it. You know, I don't want it broken up over, kind of a ridgy, aspen trees in the background. Ridgy from, raised little dots of paint. Yeah, it's pretty good. Gosh, that looks pretty good, actually. That didn't stamp out so dark. Some of the white showing through, but that looks really good. It looks real integrated. Like that. That is really pretty cool. Okay. These types of things are made possible from media that can stamp on, surfaces like this. So, it's like I always say, pick up, the types of media that's going to make it possible for you to do, different things, to, I don't know, explore your creativity. I don't want to put too many of these dead, types of trees. Some of it looks really good, kind of natural, but, you add too much of that, maybe it's like, oh my gosh, it's too much of a dead forest type of thing going on in there. So coupled together, I don't know. Should I go with another one right here? This area right here looks a little bit open. Oh, why not? Okay, I was debating whether or not I should do one in white. Oh yeah, I forgot to do that. I like to have some of that white trunk in some of these aspen trees. So, almost forgot that. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I should, like I said, maybe I should spray seal this first. And then apply it. Kind of going over it in my head, where I'm going to do white. Okay, now, I was going to do a quote stamp in here as well. And, okay, I'll do that in black. I wasn't quite sure if it was something where I'd be doing it in white, but white's just going to be, it'll be too light against this surface of this paper. It's going to have to be dark, so let's go with the black Brilliance again. Okay, let's see. In all things of nature, there is something of the marvelous. By Aristotle. Okay. Have some light, even pressure, adequate pressure, and it is that non-porous paper, so kind of allow for the transfer of media to surface. Okay, it came out a little bit light over there, and some of that area right there. It's because I'm stamping on bare paper down here. When you stamp onto this foundation of, more absorbent white, it stamps out. But, I think it looks okay. Okay, now, I like my little eagles in the other scene, so let's do that again. I was deciding where to put it. I'll put one on top. These eagles are from the Deep Space set. I just had some room on that set, so these tend to look really dynamic around, in front of things like Milky Ways or whatever. Composing. All right, let's see. Remember, don't put too much pressure on little tiny objects like this. Okay, we use a lot of heavier pressure when we're stamping, big stamps like this. But if you apply that same amount of pressure that you do on this, the distribution of pressure gets concentrated in such a tiny area, and that you can really squash the impression. Okay. So just be mindful of it. Smaller objects. Lighter pressure. Lighter but adequate, though. Don't not put enough. Alright? I don't know. I like that look there. There's certain things on here from a technique standpoint that I would probably adjust next time. I'd probably put a little bit more white in here, but I think it's not bad. Okay, let's heat set again. We need to keep heat setting our different layers. Now, I'm wondering about the spray seal, if I should use a workable fixative or kind of more of the Krylon UV. The surface of this paper is more of a luster than a gloss. I do have some glossy rainbow holographic, the old chrome coat ones, but this one's more of like a dull luster, so I'm thinking that would be fine. And spray sealing too, when you go over it, there's always a chance that you might lose some of that holographic kind of ability of it, so I need to be mindful of that, and maybe not spray too much. Okay. Now, I don't know if this black in here is completely dry, but spray sealing should kind of help that out. But I'm going to be careful, try to be careful not to put my hand in, any of these inks on here after I do spray seal. Okay, I'm back after spray sealing. One thing that I did notice with the kind of a brighter light shining on this is I can see, let me see if you can see it too, like these shinier areas. I think that's the areas of the impressions that are still a touch on the wet side. Okay, so I need to just be careful not to, touch into that. But the spray seal seemed to work pretty good. Now let's see if we can draw onto the spray sealed imagery, probably not the wet areas, I don't know, and see if we can get some, a little bit of structure into the aspen tree forms. Okay. All right, so now remember these are coming from off the page. Okay, now even the spray seal, I feel like I'm digging into the ink there. I tried not to, put too heavy a coat on there. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let me go a little bit slower. Going slower is helping. See, as I'm kind of coming up. Okay, that one I totally dug into the impressions. So do a little scribbling. That seems to be kind of working here. But yeah, and don't worry about having a continuous line because you have, the idea is that you have kind of other branches in front. Okay, leaves and stuff like that in front of your tree. So in theory, you wouldn't be able to see, like, continuous, exposed trunk, or branches. Down there, it's like really wet with the ink, the dye-based ink. Okay, so not great. I'm kind of doing it a little bit sloppy because I feel like I'm working around some of these other trees, the black parts, and as well as the wet dye-based areas still. So, but I think that is good enough. You see, there's a little bit of structure in here. It's not quite as white as I wanted. It never is. So, I mean, working like a paintbrush and some Dr. Martens, that'll do it for sure. That stuff's so opaque. But I don't know, I just haven't broken out that methodology yet. It's still, still in our hip pocket as far as, I just lost my cap, hip pocket as far as, our available techniques that we can use. Okay, so that is the white. Let's go back and add a little bit more yellow into it, and then we'll add a little bit more white too. Okay, being that these are aspens here. Let's put a little bit more of that yellow into it. And see, on some of this I'm going over my white, to sandwich, some of the white layer into into the form of the tree, making it a little bit more three-dimensional. I'm expecting this yellow to not stand out quite so much when it dries. Okay. I don't know about you, but that is looking pretty three-dimensional to me. What I'm wondering is if it looks even more three-dimensional than the vellum, with the photo. It looks different though. It's different enough where I see it as like a a completely viable technique here, or combination, technique combination that we can we can utilize. Okay, I'm going with grab my smaller Meowsen white acrylic paint pen. Just, I don't know, it's a little bit of a textural difference. It's a 0.7 instead of 3 millimeter. And sometimes I think it's a little bit more opaque, maybe, I don't know, than the larger 3 mil. I don't know. This one's kind of blending in as I watch it, so I'm not sure. Let me shake it up a little bit more. The more you shake up these pens, you know, with the water and the pigment in them. These aren't pigment pens, but I'm just saying the medium that's inside the acrylic. It tends to get a little bit more opaque, you know, just, you know, because you're mixing it up better. It's not as watery. And when you're using kind of white in your imagery, in this case in the foreground, remember we started off with white, okay, in the background, and then we worked through some other colors and images. But when you finish off with, you know, that same value of white, you're kind of taking things full circle. It's not the same medium, you know, pigment ink or something like that, but it's the same value, so I don't know, it kind of rounds out the process and look. You know, I don't know, I think things look a little bit more whole that way. So a lot of times if I'm doing, say, black impressions of something to start off with, and I'm coloring with different colors, I like to end up with black, you know. In this case, we started off with white, and we're ending up in white again. Okay, I went back to the 3. I thought, okay, the smaller one looks pretty good, but I think we needed something a little bit more substantial on there. Because it's just, I don't know, it's kind of just blending right in. This white is looking really good, though. I wish it would just stay as white as it looks when freshly applied, though, because it really kind of rounds things out in a very dimensional looking way here. Okay, so that is that. I think that looks pretty good as is. The one thing I wish that, you know, that area right in there stamped out a little bit darker for the word print, okay? But I think it's not bad. Let me try something. Let me put a little bit of... No, okay, I was going to put some highlights on these black trees. I'm choosing not to because it would be with some dots. There's enough dots going in here already. Okay, so it would just be, I don't know, it would be too monotonous, I think. But now, I need to find something to mount this on. Here's a green piece of foil. Boy, that would look pretty good with a little bit of a white border, I think. Thus, I haven't done too much with the white, with the green foils yet. I might have done like a scene or two, but maybe something like that. Okay, so I'm going to allow this to dry, and then we'll mount it up. You know, there's still wet areas. I can clearly see, yeah, there's like shiny little bits of, you know, that dye-based ink right in there still. But pretty promising as far as, you know, potential medium for us. Look how dynamic that rainbow holographic look is, too. Okay, I can't wait to get this mounted up and into a card format and where I can, you know, touch it. But I think I might spray fix the surrounding area here when everything's dry. I don't want to go and heat set it anymore. I think I'll just allow it to dry on its own. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. And again, I just really didn't think it would work, you know, with that dye-based ink. But I don't know. That white Brilliance ink, you know, ability to dry on the surface, like I said, it opens up. It's opening up more doors than I thought possible at this point in time. So still learning a lot about it. Okay, so we'll let this dry. I might even let it dry overnight. Okay, we have this piece mat it up and take a look. I'm really pleased with dye-based inks on foil, basically. It's not really, they're kind of printed on to the, it's really dye-based inks on Brilliance white, okay? But, you know, for all intents and purposes, I don't know, we can utilize those dye-based inks that we all have on foils with, you know, a sublayer of some absorbent dried pigment ink. So I thought that worked really great. And the white isn't super apparent. It's a little bit more obscured. So if someone is just taking a look at this, I think they just think you applied everything over just straight rainbow holographic foil. Okay. And you know, this is using dye-based inks. I gotta think if we use some Brilliance greens or colored impressions of those pigment inks, it would work. I don't know, maybe even better, or I don't know, equally, I'd say. But there's something to be said for that kind of watercolorish look of the dye-based ink impressions too. It kind of lends itself to that kind of a, I don't know, somewhat impressionistic type of quality, you know, that you know, watercolors can really provide. That kind of loose, kind of flowing, you know, very gestural type of, I don't know, surface quality to it. But again, here's the rainbow holographic in all of its splendor and capabilities, showing all those different colors. Look at that warm tone across. Let's focus it on that nature area right there. There's warm tones like yellows, greens, aqua green, there's blue right there. And as I keep changing it, here comes those colors again. Here's purples right in there, blues. So just really fun working on this type of thing right here. But I don't know, the biggest thing for me on this piece right here was the dye-based inks. I'm really shocked about that. And really glad. Okay, so anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, experimental video. I didn't think it would work. Sometimes you think things won't work, and they do. Sometimes you think things will work, and they don't. Or they don't work as well as you hoped they would. And that's all, I don't know, it's all part of the process. So, okay, so anyways, I hope you give it a try. This rainbow holographic paper is by Recollection. You find it at Michael's, and on sale, if it still goes on sale periodically. They might not be putting certain things on sale with the kind of supply chain issues that, you know, kind of are abundant right now. But these packs of, I don't know, what was it, 25 pieces for $3.33. And then this is a quarter page, you know. I don't know, it's really quite reasonable, I feel, for what it is. Okay, so anyways, thanks again for watching. If you enjoy it, hope you hit the like button. And if you enjoy the channel, hope you subscribe.